Hi, my name is Jenna C. Roy, and this super sweet little segment is all about how to stay in the flow. So, we've got our physical reality, our emotional reality, and our mental reality. And what happens is we tend to block the flows, the natural cycles, the natural flows. This can happen within one 24-hour day. This can happen within one 30-day month. However, you're running energy and whatever that cycle or flow is, it's basically constantly running through you. And so many times humans identify as just their human body and their human experience. But how energy practitioners see this is we are a collection of different consciousness. We are our physical consciousness, which is everything we can see, touch, everything that's matter around us. We are our emotional consciousness, which is all the energy, everything that happens that creates a reaction that actually gets us to feel. And then we're also our mental consciousness, which means everything subjectively, internally that we can think becomes the meaning or a belief system over what we're creating and experiencing in life. And so we're not just one human that's experiencing all of these things. We are multiple levels and layers of different consciousness that is basically creating a reality that we then engage with. And so how do we recognize when we're in the flow of life and when everything just feels so fluid, connected, and it feels right, it feels playful, it feels fun? How do we recognize and stay there? And how do we understand when we're possibly blocking that natural flow? And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about. It's basically, how do you stay in the flow and how do you recognize when you're blocking that flow? So some of the things that you could come across or run into when you are in a manifesting flow, and this is all about the physical body. So there are certain aspects that will try to get you to ground into your physical body more. When you are supposed to be manifesting things, when you're supposed to be co-creating things into your reality, your energy will naturally slow down. It will naturally become more dense because you have to become more of your human self in order to manifest. And so what happens is we tend to get much more human in our wants, our needs, our actions. All of this, it's like a dial in the physical body turns way up. So we have increased sexual drives. We go right into that kind of more animalistic nature, right? We have an increased appetite. We tend to energetically slow down. It's more of this grounding energy where, last week you might have been riding the high of the mental body and consciousness, which gives you tons and tons of energy. But when that physical body turns up, when you're in a manifesting flow, it's as if things just need to slow down to basically create through you the next physical reality that's going to show up for you. And so naturally we get more tired. We tend to pull away. We tend to pull back. And so these are some of the things that will start to happen in your physical reality to show you that it's time to slow down. It's time to be more human so that you can manifest the next step. And so people tend to question, why am I wanting to eat more? Why sometimes even, it's eating things that you're not akin to eating. Like if you're a vegetarian and you start to crave meat, that can be in real high contrast to a belief system. But this could be the body's natural way of telling you, hey, we need to go into a major slowdown, a major reset so that we can produce this next level of matter or physicality into your reality. And so not saying that you have to eat meat, but if you're a vegetarian or a vegan that's somewhat craving fish or meat, realize and recognize that this is your body's way to communicate with you, that it's time to go inward, it's time to ground, it's time to become more human, and recognize that this part of your human path is speaking up so that you can slow down. So ways we block the manifesting cycle or this physical cycle when it starts to kick in Instead of slowing down and pulling back and taking more breaks, for me, taking more baths, maybe meditating more, going inward more, really giving your body a chance to slow down and catch up to all the higher energetics you've been playing with. One of the things that we do to block this, because humans don't like to slow down, is we'll start to increase our sugar and caffeine intake. And so if you are resisting the manifesting flow, and remember, this is all about staying in the pocket. How do I stay in the pocket? How do I stay in that sweet spot? The barrel of the wave, right? How do you stay in that sweet spot of life? And it's recognizing the flows as they're coming in and moving into the flows, because the quicker that you can follow that current of life when that flow comes in, the easier life is. And so a manifesting flow naturally is going to have you increase your appetite. It's going to probably have you change some of the things that you're craving, more dense, heavy things, to really ground the body and the energy. And that's if you haven't maybe paid attention so much to the slowdown. You're also going to be a lot more tired. You're going to need to take more breaks, more time outs, take longer lunches, take all those 15-minute breaks you're supposed to be taking throughout the day. Kick your shoes off, just really be in tune to the physical body's needs. And then also you've got the sex drive that is going to increase. It's about honoring this, like the physicality, right? The physical body. And so when these things start to trigger, if you don't recognize that this is your body needing to go into more of the human ranges to manifest, to be that master of matter and creation, then you will start blocking. And what we do as humans is we start to go into patterns. Patterns kick in. So we'll grab extra caffeine, right? Sodas, coffee, energy drinks, because we're resisting the slowdown. And you can also move into things that numb the body, right? So if you look at the opposite of an increased sex drive, it's the kind of pains in the body, or the physical discomfort that the body will express when it's not being moved, and when that non-physical from the higher energetic fields are coming down to co-create in the physical body. If you're resisting that energy integrating into the body, which is the slowdown, and which can be done through sex and physical exertion, then your body will naturally start to get sore and pain. And so anytime we have body discomfort and we don't know why, it's like, why is my shoulder hurting again? Or why are my legs so sore? I haven't worked out in a while. This is the body not being able to integrate and be in this manifesting flow. And so when there's random body pains, and when we go to numb those pains using any kind of Advil, aspirin to take away the pain of the body, we're basically numbing the integration. We're blocking the integration into this physical level that then would co-create that next part of our path and keep us in that sweet spot of the flow. And so increasing the sugar intake, right, is a natural stimulant. The caffeine is a natural stimulant, and all those things are resisting the natural slowdown the body's trying to go through to integrate the manifesting flow. So next we go up into the higher energetics, which is the mental fields. And this is where we're in a learning flow. This is where we are in an expanding flow. And here, when we tap into these higher energetics, the things that the body will naturally start to do is fasting, liquid diets. You don't want to eat. You could go a whole 8-hour work schedule and not want to eat. You're just go, 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 go. You've got so much coming in. We call this the download phase. You're just so out in your mental field that you are being basically energetically nourished through all of these connections and all of this inspiration that you're getting, that the physical body isn't even there, right? And so we go into these natural fasting phases or intermittent fasting, right? Where the body just gets a little sustenance and then goes right back into another 8-hour grind of not needing food. And so we, on the opposite end of the physical here in the mental, we also have a decreased sex drive, because to come back into the body and bring a lot of physical awareness into the body, it kind of detaches. Anytime we allow somebody else to marry and partner with us in that ritual of sex, then it's almost as if we're releasing a lot of the higher, quicker energetics that happen up here in the mental field. And so we tend to move into phases of resisting intimacy and sexual interaction. One of the other things that'll happen when you're up in the higher energetics of the mental field is you're gonna not need as much sleep. And so your body's naturally gonna go into higher energetics, which means you're going to resist sleeping. You're going to have a lot more energy, sustainable energy, where you just can't turn your mind off. And so this is a learning and expanding flow. When you are in this flow, you're meant to be utilizing all of this energy because it comes and goes. Again, these cycles could be daily, weekly, monthly. You could be in a really high mental energetic cycle for a month, and then you come back down into the heart, and then you move into a manifesting cycle, which means you need to slow down, integrate everything you picked up from this higher cycle. And so when we're up in this higher cycle, you need to take advantage of it, right? So the way we block, when you're blocking that flow of the mental field, basically you're resisting the sleep patterns, and your body naturally wants to stay awake because you're in such a creative mode, you're in such an inspiration mode. And so maybe you're taking sleeping pills, maybe you're watching TV or movies instead of actually fulfilling those higher energetics and connecting. Maybe you're resisting the meditation or what you need to do to figure out all of these things that you're connected into. Maybe you're resisting all of those thoughts and really getting into that creative mode, right? Of the infinite potentials that are coming through. And if you ever fix your eating, like people who get really patterned, regimented, and scheduled in their eating and eat the same thing over and over at the same times, this could be the resisting of the expansion and the learning process here in the mental field. Also, if you get, when you're supposed to be coming out of this, out of the higher energetics, because you can't stay here forever. If you do, you will literally fall off the cliff. Your head will get so big, you will become so ungrounded, you will probably manifest an illness, a sickness, to slow you down and get you back into your human body. And so that's something, if you're getting sick or if you're manifesting those types of problems, really severe illnesses or crazy things, this is divine saying, hey, you've stayed in the mental field way too long. You need to get back in that human body. And so there are other things that we do to try and stay in that high of connectivity, because it's so much fun when you're in the higher mental fields. People will go in intense workout routines and push themselves continually because that energy, they're basically replicating the energy, right, that they're getting up here. Adrenaline junkies seeking that, or even drug-induced experiences when we're resisting doing our own work and figuring out what's coming in up here. What we do sometimes, what a small percentage of the population does is seeks out those hallucinogenic type experiences to really keep them expanded in the infinite potential of everything up here. It could also be those people on the flip side who have learned how to meditate for themselves, go on the inward journey and want to stay in this inward journey for, instead of just doing a quick meditation, they're there for 60, 90 minutes, really trying to continue to expand and get answers and tap into everything up here. And so we can over pattern, we can block the natural flow. And so basically we're supposed to be here until we start feeling the body needing to slow down. And what naturally happens is then everything comes back into center, comes into our feeling state. So what gets us out of here is our emotions. And so our emotions, we have to recognize that it is perfect. Means you are in perfect flow when you are getting triggered by emotions. Emotions are the one thing that are going to have you expand out everything from the dense emotions of fear, jealousy, anger, guilt, grief, all of these things, to the high emotions of love, ecstasy, joy, grace, gratitude, abundance. All of these emotions that you can feel basically are the things that are going to get you back into this center point after you've had a really heightened mental experience. You're going to have feeling states, energetic feeling states. And so what happens is if we start going into dense emotions, we realize, hey, what I've been connected into up here in the mental field maybe isn't serving my highest, greatest good. And so then we come back into our feeling state. We get triggered by something externally in our reality that gets us to feel a certain way. And then that feeling state gets us to understand, hey, maybe I've been connected into things that aren't serving my greatest good, that aren't serving everybody who's connected to me's greatest good. And so we get triggered to come back into our body and make decisions that are best for us here. And then if it's a great feeling, maybe we go, ooh, everything I've been playing with here is so good. And yes, I'm feeling so much love and inspiration and passion to get this done that, I'm going to bring that into my human reality. And so then the natural cycle goes down into human, into the physical, where then we get to play with these energies in the human way. But when we bring all this high energetics down into the feelings and have emotions that trigger us to what we're connected to, then it comes down and we're in this now manifesting state where we're in the human body, and we will naturally need to integrate, slow down. This is where we eat more. This is where we get more physical. Maybe you start working out, right? Because you're slowing down, but your body wants to move because you're feeling certain aches and pains. And the working out, the movement of the body, the sexual intercourse that we put ourselves through, that we get to enjoy and partake in, helps us integrate all of the non-physical stuff we've been playing with in our mental fields. After we manifest what we need, then we move back up into the heart space. And after we've manifested, we get to see our reality for what it is. And then we start getting triggered by emotions in our reality again that get us to take a good, strong look at what's outside of us. And either we're going to have negative, dense connections to everything that's outside of us, which shows that, hey, I'm in a place that is not reflective of my highest truth. So then we move up here and we start tapping into what we need to change, belief systems, patterns, structures, then we bring it back down. So this is the natural cycle. This is the natural flow. And the one thing that I want you to take away from this is to trust your emotions, because your emotions it's like the red, yellow, and green light of your flow, of what's happening between the mental and the physical body. Your emotions are the key. Your emotions are the one thing that are going to tell you where you are, what you're experiencing, and if you're experiencing good emotions or bad emotions, it doesn't matter. That is the language that's getting you to recognize what you've been creating, either through what you've been connecting to in your mental reality or what you've been co-creating in your physical reality. And so don't get disassociated with emotions. Don't try and not feel the dense emotions. All emotions are good. Just the dense ones are telling you, hey, maybe it's time for a red light. Let's stop, assess what we've created in the physical, what we're attached to in the mental, and rechange what's going on in our heart, what we're attracting, because we're either thinking it and patterning it, or we're creating it into our own reality. So your heart and these emotions are constantly going to magnetize to you the answers that you need from everything you've been in connection to as you're moving through these flows and through these cycles. And so, it's just a really beautiful way to stop and take a look. And so the key factors here is, the biggest pattern that I see humans getting into is, especially humans who are on this kind of conscious journey and walking the path of their enlightenment and of their purpose, is they get stuck in the emotional body, the emotional plane. It's one of the hardest because you're dealing with so many outside triggers, and you're usually trying to figure out how those triggers are a reflection of you. And so it's really hard to get out of the density of the experiences when you're triggered. And so what people tend to do is they get in the pattern of drinking. And I think alcohol can be such a fantastic tool to almost turn the red light to a green light, or turn the green light to a red light when we need to stop, and integrate, or when we need to move faster. I think a drink is a beautiful thing to kind of help us understand where we are. We take a drink and it allows us to take a break. But the thing is, people get patterned. And when you drink because initially you just wanted to take a break, or switch that red light to green light, or green light to red light, or even just find some kind of slowdown to understand yellow light and just understand what's going on, people will tend to drink and then keep drinking, which means they tend to numb. And then in the numbing, they numb any understanding of the emotions. They then tell their emotional body that they're not worthy of feeling, and then they get stuck in the emotional plane. And when you numb that deeply, it's so hard to understand your truth amongst the entire world that surrounds you. And so people tend to then continue to drink to not to feel, or continue to drink to actually feel something. Vice versa, whatever the flow is, they'll continue to drink to encourage this flow coming down from the top, or encourage this flow coming up from the bottom. And they've lost their essence, their center amongst it, because they've chosen not to feel the emotions that go along with the journey. And so that is my biggest takeaway, is that the emotions are the key. The emotions are the things that are changing the lights from red to yellow to green, right? The yellow is the slowdown in the middle here. When you have an emotion, it's there to slow you down, to take a moment to say, ooh, why am I feeling anxious? That's interesting. Or, ooh, why am I feeling ecstasy? That's interesting around that person. Wow, that's really a unique thing. And so the emotions become this yellow light to let us slow down, take a moment, and figure out why you got triggered by a certain emotion, and not to get angry at yourself for feeling dense emotions, or not to get too over ecstatic when you're feeling the good emotions, and not understand what it's in connection to, either through what you've been learning and expanding in the mental field, or creating into the physical. So those are my tips for how to work with and stay in the flow. It's all about the emotions, and love every single emotion. In my membership site, which is totally free, where is it? Level 4, I believe it's level 4 under Teach the Teacher. You can find there's an emotional chart that will tell you the different emotions that are coming in, and what those emotions are in connection to, which is really helpful when you can use those emotions as a language for where your flow is and what's happening and what you're creating. And so it's just a really helpful tool, and my goal for you is to continue to feel everything. It's your human potential, it's your human gift, is to be able to feel as clearly and as expansively as you can into every single emotion. So definitely love the highs, but also love the lows, because everything's there just to teach you more of who you are and how to stay in that pocket and stay in the barrel of the wave, right? It's to stay in the flow. So with so much light and love.